Today we are going to glorify His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And you all watched this wonderful video of his journey in this world for almost 75 years and influenced millions of people's lives. So we're going to have some devotees glorify Guru Maharaj, and then we have His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj here, and he will speak for a few minutes, and then we'll start the puja. Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanathmirandasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshurvanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Namane. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pracharya Deshatarine. Dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All go to Srila Prabhupada. Dear Gurudeva, Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, I cannot believe it's been a year you left this planet. You touched many millions of lives across many continents with your Vani and Vapu. You are still winning the hearts of many through your Vani. Wherever you went, you insisted on following Vaishnava etiquette. You gave utmost importance on how to deal with each other with respect and integrity by following Vaishnava etiquette. You always stressed on the importance of cooperation among the devotees. On your disappearance day, I seek your blessings so that I can imbibe your mood in my dealings with other Vaishnavas and others in general. One of the consistent themes in your lectures and also in your book is to follow the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and practice them regularly. You insisted so many times, Prabhupada has given everything for us to become eligible to go back to Godhead. We don't need to look anywhere else. On this special day, I seek your blessings to provide enough courage and determination and confidence to continue my spiritual journey on your instructions. One of your famous phrases, never leave ISKCON. Whatever the circumstances may be, just tolerate and cooperate with each other. That was your message in many of your lectures. You stressed the point that biggest danger to ISKCON is more of a within than outside. I will keep this instruction to my heart. You helped many devotees to rejoin back the movement. Thanks for extending your help, bringing the ISKCON family together. In spite of your busy schedules and managing many responsibilities, and you gave time to small children and also most of us in Seattle, you came all the way to just to spend us with few days. Thank you for giving such a caring and nourishment for all of us. Personally, thank you for spending some time with me and my family, with my kids, and you taught us in the simple instructions like how to maybe cook certain things which we are not in a position to do it. And we are so ignorant that we didn't even realize the importance of keeping how to actually receive a spiritual master, how to serve him nicely. So you, as a loving father, you instructed us on how to actually practice the etiquette properly. Thank you for sharing your intimate pastimes and personal experience with the divine grace. It's always a nectar whenever you talk about your intimate moments with Prabhupada. Thank you for writing the book Ocean of Mercy. I always cherish in my life reading it again and again. It is clear from the book and also from other lectures that you have so much love and affection to Prabhupada. And from the book, towards the last, there is one paragraph I can never forget. I just read it for all of us. Quotes. It's the last moments of final pastimes of Prabhupada. Quoting begin. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaja and I went into the pit, and Srila Prabhupada body was lowered in. While it was being lowered, the untied kaupina got wrapped around my wrist. I quickly untangled it and tied it around Prabhupada's back. I felt that he was still there, taking care of everything. Narayana Maharaja guided us through the arati and the rest of the ceremony. Then he told us to put salt around the body, and afterward the devotees began to pour loose soil into the pit. A profound feeling prevailed in my mind. I did not want to leave Srila Prabhupada's side. I wanted to stay and continue serving in his samadhi. When Narayana Maharaja climbed up and the devotees began pouring more soil, I still did not move. But Tamal Krishna Maharaja knew what was going through my mind. He just grabbed my hand, and dragged me out of that holy pit. Srila Prabhupada had entered into the Radha Krishna's eternal pastimes. Quote ends. You have such a loving affection to Guru Maharaj, especially Srila Prabhupada, and you served him nicely. I pray on your disappearance day, at least just seek a tiny drop of your conviction you had, so that I can progress on my path. And also on this day, I seek blessings for all me and my wife, Radhika Nami Devdasi, and my kids, Anvita and Advait. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Om Ajnanatmirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj ki jai. It's we can't even believe that Maharaj left us, and it's already 1 year. Yep. The most touching thing for me, we were reading at home last few days Maharaj's book, Ocean of Mercy. The amount of love Maharaj had for Srila Prabhupada, it was just so touching, and so many lessons to learn from, and how he dedicated his life completely once he came in touch with Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. So I really pray for Maharaj to give that conviction in Guru's Krupa. So, yeah. So we are very grateful that when Maharaj was here, we had the opportunity to serve. Really miss Maharaj, and we pray that one day, through Maharaj's mercy, we all get the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So today we have gathered here to remember the glorious life and passing of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. My association with Maharaj was very limited. Personal association with him I had only during last few times that he visited Seattle. But even before that, I was fortunate enough to get a collection of his bhajans that he sang in his extremely devotional mood, which was further decorated by his melodious voice. And I remember even before, when I used to live in Miami, whenever I used to commute, I would have his song play in my car, and it would completely transform me to a spiritual dimension. It was so touching, and that's how I developed that bond with Bhakti Charu Maharaj even before I had met with him. And I was fortunate enough to have his association here in Seattle. Me and my family got a chance to serve him when he was staying at Syam Mukund Prabhu's home. And some of the touching things I remember when Harivilas Maharaj was having his first initiation ceremony, and how he came at a very short notice. That just showed how much he cared for devotees, for his god brothers, and and that was quite a moment, and I have a vivid recollection of that. As much as we can say, about His Holiness, it's not enough. As we saw in this video presentation, his contribution to Srila Prabhupada's movement is, we cannot describe in words. Not only he translated books in Bengali, right? He started so many projects. He made a TV serial. And in unlimited ways he contributed to this movement. I specifically remember my Guru Maharaj, his glorification when and after his glorious passing. One of the things he mentioned, he touched me, mentioned that Bhakti Charu Maharaj, translated books in Bengali, even, just by anyone who knows him, can conclude that the translation would be perfect, right? I mean, he was so dedicated to Prabhupada, and he was so in one with his understanding of Prabhupada's mood and mission. So that kind of confidence, my Guru Maharaj, when he expressed his appreciation for His Holiness, and many other senior Vaishnavas. And as we can say, if you want to know someone, you have to hear about him. And though I had very limited association with him, just by hearing about his glories from all of the senior Vaishnavas, I could get some glimpse into his glorious life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. So, Hare Krishna. Most of my interaction or association of Maharaj, I was deprived of because I was in India for 3 years. I was visiting Radha Desh in Europe, and Maharaj happened to be there. And in his class, he mentioned very simple. He said, on a hot summer day, we feel the wind, and that breeze gives us a cooling feeling. Krishna has given so much of sense gratification already. Why do we need more? And I was spiritually shocked by the benchmarking of sense gratification, that even a breeze coming on a hot summer day is also Krishna is giving some pleasure. Be happy, right? And then after I came back and Maharaj was visiting, his last visit to Seattle before he left, I simply requested Senthil Prabhu that can I come with you in the car to drop Maharaj to the airport? And Senthil Prabhu is very kind-hearted, Shyamukund Prabhu. He immediately agreed, yes, you can come. I was thinking the car will be full and maybe I will take my second car and all that. But he just said, yeah, please come. And it was me, Shyamukund Prabhu and Maharaj. We were going to the airport to drop Maharaj. Krishna's arrangement, we missed the flight. We missed the flight and Shyamukund Prabhu had a serious business in office that day. So he had to be in office. Whole congregation thought Maharaj has left. So it was me and Maharaj. So at Shyamukund Prabhu, so I sometimes I quickly shift the gears. I immediately called office and called in, I'm not coming. Made myself available, whole day with Maharaj. And that day Senthil Prabhu is not there, Mataji was there, but she cannot be with Maharaj. She was there to provide prasadam or whatever is needed. And then whole day I had Maharaj's association, which was like, I was feeling guilty that I'm blessed with so much of association that everybody is craving for, should I inform more people, but then it would amount to disturbing Maharaj also. So I just spent time with Maharaj, I explained him my business plans, showed him the website, and we spoke a lot. Little later, I was getting greedy. Getting time to spend with Maharaj like this is kind of once in lifetime opportunity, how to make the best of it. So I asked Shyamukund Prabhu, can I give massage to Maharaj? And Shyamukund Prabhu checked with Maharaj and he said, yeah, it's okay. So I immediately ran home. There is a very, very special Ayurvedic doctor in Pune. He had given me a massage oil. It was for my own back pain. So I was keeping it like a very precious thing. So I immediately brought that and Maharaj allowed me, and to my heart's content, I was able to give massage to Maharaj. Then in the evening we wanted to go and check out some vegan restaurant because he had some Florida plans that he explained me. And we wanted to see that. That didn't work out. And I was kind of floating in the ecstasy of being so close to Maharaj. That day we had His Holiness Harivilaj Maharaj and His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. They had lunch together, they had chit chat, and we were also listening to their talks. It was supposed to be a very ordinary day in office, and suddenly I was like just floating, saying that wow, this is happening and it's happening without any planning. And then time fast forward, this pandemic started and the news came that we need to pray for Maharaj. So we started looking for the authentic Narasimha Stotram videos on YouTube, only to find that only ISKCON Bangalore had a very clear representation of full Narasimha Kavach and all that. So I said, okay, we need to have our own. So Aryan Pranjal were put on the job as obedient kids. They spent the whole weekend reciting the Narasimha Kavacham, and we recorded the video. It was meant to be for prayer for Maharaja's health. Almost 12 at night we released the video to Shyamukund Prabhu saying that please do a quality check so that we can release it to the devotees. That night we received the news, Maharaj is no more. So we had to release it as a Adaranjali, as an offering to Maharaj. But those moments, that weekend of being in anxiety, trying to remember the whole Narasimha Kavacham on the same day, trying to recite it accurately, and creating the video just as a service to Maharaj, brought our whole family very, very close to Maharaj, although we had not spent like lot of time, just one day. But we felt very, very close to Maharaj. Maharaj gave personal time to Aryan, Pranjal, answered their questions in the last visit that we had a day with him. Anuradha was able to cook for them. So in a very short visit, Maharaj made us so comfortable. It didn't feel like we were dealing with somebody so high. Maharaj makes us feel like as if it is very normal to engage and interact with him. So Maharaj, it was our great fortune that we are able to little something for you, and we, from the bottom of our heart, we express our gratefulness for the blessings that we have received from you, and we pray that the mood in which you have served Srila Prabhupada in organizing ISKCON in the original mood of bhakti, which I heard from many devotees and from you also in your question answers. It's amazing. You have saved this congregation, you have saved Chopati congregation, and you have saved many congregations in the world. And that is a very unique service. You are recognized by United Nations. There are only couple of projects in ISKCON that I know are recognized by United Nations. So I only beg for your mercy. I beg forgiveness from all the devotees if I am saying something incorrect. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine. Hare Krishna. So today we are reading this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, verse number 13. So that translation of this verse says that the value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot be compared to the attainment of heavenly planet or liberation from matter. What to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death. So I was meditating on this verse because I had to give class on this. And I was remembering how today is also the disappearance of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. However, we got a more than moment association with Maharaj. Somehow or other, when Maharaj came first time to Seattle, we were fortunate enough to host Maharaj in our home for 2 days. And this was a very blissful moment for all of us. Our first connection is Maharaj is Bengali, I am also Bengali. So immediate connection was there. And when I received Maharaj at the airport, I paid obeisances and Maharaj said, no, please don't do that. So then Maharaj came to our home, we prepared Bengali feast. And he's from Bengal, so hoping to serve him the best of Bengali prasadam. And Maharaj was very happy because probably he was traveling from other countries and he was having this Bengali feast after maybe a long time. So he was really happy, and or at least he expressed that he was very happy, and the prasadam was very good. So that made us feel so good. And during this whole stay for about 2-3 days, one thing in particular I can remember is Maharaj was traveling with a very young devotee who was probably traveling with Maharaj for the first time from UK. And during the entire stay, Maharaj was like always asking, is he being taken care properly? Is he being served? Is he being fed prasadam? Is he taking rest properly? Instead of the devotee taking care of Maharaj, Maharaj was taking care of him. So that quality of Maharaj attracted us so much that even his menial servants, he is so loving and caring. So after that, for the entire 2 days, we got so many opportunities to discuss with him many things, and ask him certain questions, and he very gladly spent time. And during the day, there was a lot of devotees who were visiting us. So he said, I'll talk with you, all of you, in the night. So the program at temple completed around 9:30, 10. And Maharaj came home, and he made sure that he would talk with us. And it was all normal talk. It was not, we were asking some questions, and he was answering them to our full content of satisfaction. So this was our first interaction with Maharaj, and after that, the next time when he came, we were not able to host him, but we had a good time with Maharaj at temple. And with this, I'll stop here. I would pray to Shri Radhanil Madhav and all the deities and Srila Prabhupada, wherever Maharaj is, he is being protected, remains protected, and he continues to be present in our life through his Shri Radhanil Madhav ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai, Jagannath. And he remains in our life through his lectures, his bhajans, his discourses, and we continue to stay active in Krishna consciousness by his blessings. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Charu Swami iti namine Snikta Chetaka Supraneta Vangminam Charasapratam Prabhupada Gata Prananvami Bhakti Charu Padam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharan Nirvaseshu Nivadipasti Destar. Hare Krishna. It is I can speak about my Guru Maharaj for all day, and also the challenges. I would get very emotional because I lost my father when I was 26 in 97, and I lost my mother when 6, 7 years ago, and after that, around that time is when I got to know him, and then I started getting that very similar love, like how I got from my parents. He would show that, right? And he would. I had very minimal interactions, if you look at it, but compared to others, I had very few times he would come to Seattle, and we are fortunate enough that we were able to host him at home, and he would stay with us, and then somehow we got inspired to have him agree to give us initiation, accept as disciples. That itself, we felt it is a very, very fortunate thing in life, and it becomes extremely hard that in person we don't get to have that kind of interaction anymore, right? But of course, Vapu Seva and Vani Seva are there, so we understand that in theory, but when it comes to practice, it becomes very hard, right? So we do listen to his lectures and whatnot, and get inspired. But not being him personally, we are not able to serve him. There's an emptiness in heart. So more than me, my wife is very emotional every day. Whenever she is sitting and chanting in front of the picture of Guru Maharaj, I would see her crying, right? And it's very hard for when a guru leaves the planet. I can only imagine how the disciples of Prabhupada had to deal with that emptiness for so many years, right? Harilas Maharaj is here. I don't think any day passes by him not mentioning about Prabhupada, right? So that's the love they all had. And I hope we also imbibe such kind of love for Prabhupada and the Guru, so that we all serve in the mode of cooperation, right? So one of the biggest thing, the value or the quality I wanted to imbibe from Guru Maharaj was the mood of cooperation, right? So he always emphasized, and he had discussed with me on so many different topics or different challenges. As a GBC member, he had to deal with so many things. Even though I'm not qualified, he would discuss with me. He discussed with me about the Brooklyn temple issue and other issues outside. But every time his point would be, okay, we are just doing it, making sure we all stay united and serve Prabhupada, right? And his mission is only just that. The way he resolved issues here, or resolved in New York, or resolved in other places, he always had Prabhupada as the center, or in the middle for any conflict resolution or issues resolution. So it made it easy so others cannot go against that kind of principle, right? So when you put Prabhupada and the Lord Krishna in the middle, then you cannot argue against that. So that way he was able to win over all the conflict situations and bring a good resolution. So I also I pray to him and to the Lord and to Prabhupada to always have that type of attitude, to be humble. Yes, we all have faults. Who doesn't have fault, right? So even if somebody says something, it's okay. We all forgive and move on, right? And we take a humble route so that we can continue to spread this movement and bring more and more souls in this world to the movement ISKCON, right? So that's how we can serve the Prabhupada, we can serve the Lord, we can please him. And if we are always quarreling amongst ourselves, then nobody is going to even come to ISKCON, right? So we all should have that mindset and try to do whatever we can in that mood of cooperation. That way Prabhupada is happy and all the gurus are happy, and we are also internally happy, and we can go back to Krishna. And with that, I just wanted to share one last pastime, or not pastime, actually after he left this planet, one of the biggest challenges we had was to transport his body back to India. And it was in a COVID lockdown, so pretty much everything was blocked. And so there is no flights to India, very, very limited flights, extremely limited, like once or twice a week flights were there to India. Only Air India was flying. And the body, the hospitals even wouldn't hand over the body. So we literally begged the dean to hand over the body, and they said, okay, we can hand over the body, but what are you going to do about it? They said, we're going to transport to New York, and from New York we're going to transport to India. And then the local county was okay, fine, there is a special case was ordered and perfectly sealed, like I don't remember the name for the process, but it's chemically treated so the body doesn't decompose and it stays in an environment where the body stays fresh. We did that, but then the local government gave permission to transport to New York. But from New York to India, it became the biggest hurdle. The airline said you have to get no objection certificate from the Department of Ministry of Health or something in India. And we asked Ministry of Health, they said you have to get a letter from consulate in US. Then we're trying to go to consulate won't even give an appointment. So then this was escalated up to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, his disciples, they all got involved. They went up to the PMO, Prime Minister's office, to put pressure on get the foreign minister involved to get this done. Then they contacted the consulate, local consulate. She said, I have to get a letter from Ministry of... This is a bureaucracy going back and forth, and every day we cannot just keep the body here for infinitely. So day and night the devotees were working. Finally the letter was issued from ministry. Actually, foreign minister called the consulate. Do you want to get fired, or are you going to just get it done? And then she said, okay, just give me a letter from Ministry of Health, I'll issue the letter. And then they finally got it done. We got a letter, and then we were ready to transport. Now the last hurdle. Air India was fine with this letter. Now from Delhi to Calcutta, transportation became a challenge, because there's no flights operating from Delhi to Calcutta. We wanted to then we were looking for a prior charter flight. Then we were just crazily looking for a charter flight. The charter flight operator saying, if it's COVID, we can't do it. I was like, what is this? And then finally, His Holiness Jaipat Maharaj's disciple was introduced an operator who was in Dubai. And then he told, okay, we'll take care of it. In fact, my pilot got COVID, but he's recovering. Hopefully by the time Maharaj arrives in Delhi, he'll be ready. I'll force him to drive the flight. It's like, okay. But then they said, okay, but then there is one last problem, which is the casket size has to be this much, because the flight door is only this much. We don't know whether it will fit or not. It's not guaranteed. And so, okay, then we tried to measure the casket size, and this is what it is it's not going to work. Finally, he himself said, okay, if this flight doesn't work, I'm going to get another plane, bigger plane for this. I will take care of it. You don't even have to pay for it. I'll do it. So this is how Krishna's mercy comes into play for a glorious devotee of him. He arranges all this. We went through so much anxiety, but he arranged all of that. And then he was able to, fly all the way through Calcutta. And then from Calcutta, the chief minister said, he is a great devotee. We should make sure he has like a government honor. So they organized a police and all that procession for him, so there is nobody is blocked on the road. And he went all the way back to Mayapur in a glorious way. So that's really an amazing journey. But we went through so much anxiety, but at the end he made an amazing journey and eventually reached the Holy Dham, and then he is resting very nicely there. And they've built a nice samadhi now. So I'm waiting for it to go and see in person next time when we visit Mayapur, and I'm praying to him to be a humble servant of the Lord and him and the devotees. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Maharaj.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Disatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Charu Swami Iti Namani. So I'm very honored to be able to say a few words about my dear friend and mentor in many ways, Bhakti Charu Maharaj. I first met him in France when he was a young sannyasi, and he purposely wanted to come and see me. And we spent at least 4 or 5 days together, and it was very pleasant. And he told me about his service to Srila Prabhupada. He was translating all of Prabhupada's books into Bengali. And he can make this a little louder. And he asked me to make a donation for it. And I gave him a very good donation at that time. And he appreciated it very much. And then after that, every once in a while I would meet him, either in India, in India mostly, and he was always very accommodating, very gentlemanly, very affectionate toward me. And our relationship continued like that for many years. And at one point, when I was having some problems, he was the only person who actually was willing to stick his neck out to help me, and he did in a very significant way. And because of that, he came to Seattle to support me and in many ways resolve these issues that were going on. And they were all resolved, mainly because of him. So I have a great debt of gratitude toward Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And he also said over the years many times that he had a great, let's say, debt of gratitude for the way I helped him in those early days. And we were always together. Every time I went to Mayapur for the GBC meetings, he always wanted me to come and have prasadam with him. And his prasadam was something of a very high standard of delicacy. He himself was a great cook, and he taught all his servants and disciples to cook very diligently and make sure that the Vaishnavas that he invited, and he invited all his god brothers on different occasions to come and have nice prasadam with him and discuss Krishna consciousness. So associating with him was always a pleasant and uplifting experience. And in that way, I became very close friends with him. And he always confided in me different things. And likewise myself. And then this terrible sickness came about. And it was very shocking and very stressful to hear that he got this sickness. But yet, there's a way of understanding what happened. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter, verses 6 to 7, where it says, Yeta saravani karmani maya sanyasa matpara ananyanaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate te samaham samudartam mrityu samsara sagarat bhavani nachirat parta may avesita chetasam. And Krishna says in the 12th chapter, 6th and 7th verse, but those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, Arjuna, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So, in the case of almost all the great acharyas, including Sankaracharya and Madhvacharya and so many other great acharyas, most of them left their bodies at a very young age. Ramanujacharya was an exception. He lived to be over 100 years old, and his body is still preserved in Sri Rangam. You can see his original body there on one side of the temple. So he's a very exceptional person and an acharya. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, it is explicitly stated here that the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to him. His duty meaning the devotee's duty, is to render service to the Lord. And if he does not, then he will render service to Maya, or illusion. As stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully in Krishna consciousness in order to achieve him, meaning the Lord. That is the standard of devotional service. The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His life's mission is to please Krishna, and he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction. So this is an exact description also of Bhakti Charu Maharaj. When he first met Prabhupada, and right away Prabhupada recognized that this is an exceptional person. So, in less than a month and a half, 2 months, he gave him first and second initiation. And in less than 6 months, he gave him sannyas initiation and made him his personal secretary for Indian affairs. And then he gave him the task of translating the entire body of literature that he had translated and commented into Bengali. And all that time that he was doing it, he personally was overseeing the translation and instructing him. Now, this is exactly the same thing that happened to Raghunath Bhatta Goswami with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was taken under the wing of Lord Chaitanya for 8 months, and he was initiated, and Lord Chaitanya told him, don't ever get married. Always remain celibate. And that's exactly what he did. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj received the same instruction from Prabhupada. He told him, don't ever get married. Just dedicate your whole life to Krishna. So there's a remarkable resemblance between Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And then Lord Chaitanya said to Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, now, after 8 months, the Lord had Raghunath Bhatta was asked to take up some services, and Lord Chaitanya told him, go and study the Srimad Bhagavatam every day under the tutelage of a bona fide Vaishnava. And that's exactly what he did. So in the case of Bhakti Charu Maharaj, he studied Srimad Bhagavatam under the direct tutelage of Prabhupada himself. And because of this, he arrived at the threshold of the devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His life's mission is to please Krishna, and he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction, just as Arjuna did in the battle of Kurukshetra. The process is very simple. One can devote himself in his occupation and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Such transcendental chanting attracts the devotee to the personality of Godhead. Now normally this sentence you would expect it to say, such transcendental chanting attracts the Lord to the devotee. But no. The whole purpose of chanting is that the more we chant, the more we're attracted to Krishna, you say. And then it says the Supreme Lord herein promises that without delay, he will deliver a pure devotee thus engaged from the ocean of material existence. Now it's the second time he said this, right? It's said in the purport, now it's repeated twice. He said it in the verse, Krishna said it, now Prabhupada has repeated it twice. Those who are advanced in yoga practice can willfully transfer their soul to whatever planet they like by the yoga process, and others take the opportunity in various ways. But as far as a devotee is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the Lord himself takes him. The devotee does not need to wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself to the spiritual sky. in the Varaha Purana, this verse appears. Nayami paramam stanam archir adhikatim vina. Garuda skandam aropya yatechcham anivartitaha. Anivaritaha. So this verse says, the purport of this verse is that a devotee does not need to practice Ashtanga Yoga in order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets. The responsibility is taken by the Supreme Lord himself. He clearly states here that he himself becomes the deliverer. A child is completely cared for by his parents, and thus his position is secure. Similarly, a devotee does not need to endeavor to transfer himself by yoga practice to other planets. Rather, the Supreme Lord, by his great mercy, comes at once riding on his bird carrier Garuda, and at once delivers the devotee from material existence. Although a man who has fallen in the ocean may struggle very hard and may be very expert in swimming, he cannot save himself. But if someone comes and picks him up from the water, then he is easily rescued. Similarly, the Lord picks up the devotee from this material existence. One simply has to practice the easy process of Krishna consciousness and fully engage himself in devotional service. Any intelligent man should always prefer the process of devotional service to all other paths. In the Narayaniya, this is confirmed as follows. Yat vai sadhana sampati purushartha chatustaye taya vina tad apnoti naro narayanasrayaha. The purport of this verse is that one should not engage in the different processes of fruitive activity or cultivate knowledge by the mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the Supreme Personality can attain all the benefits derived from other yogic processes, speculation, rituals, sacrifices, charities, etc. That is the specific benediction of devotional service. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, a devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily, but this destination cannot be approached by any other process of religion. The conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is stated in the 18th chapter, Sarvadharmam Parityaja Mamekam Saranam Raja Aham Tvam Sarvapapebhyo Moksisyami Ma Suchaha. One should give up all other processes of self-realization and simply execute devotional service in Krishna consciousness. That will enable one to reach the highest perfection of life. There is no need for one to consider the sinful actions of his past life, because the Supreme Lord fully takes charge of him. Therefore, one should not futilely try to deliver himself in spiritual realization. Let everyone take shelter of the Supreme Omnipotent Godhead Krishna. That is the highest perfection of life. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhakti Charu Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna Maha Mantra ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Grantaraj ki jai, Shri Radha Nilamadava ki jai. We should take to heart this purport and this verse. This is what happened to that young boy who was looking for spiritual truth, who met the devotees and who was introduced to Prabhupada, and who Prabhupada immediately took him under his shelter and promoted him to the highest positions in Krishna consciousness in 6 months. 6 short months. And nurtured him after that so that he would be trained directly by Srila Prabhupada. And because of that, he was able to do miraculous things in his lifetime, being under the tutelage always of Prabhupada. And I am sure Prabhupada called him because he had more service for him to do. And he was taken very quickly back to Srila Prabhupada and service, eternal service in the spiritual world and in the material world. So these are transcendental pastimes of transcendental devotees. We should not ever think that a Vaishnava is a mundane person. A Vaishnava is a very special person because he has dedicated his whole life to serving Krishna with no other purpose. And in the case of someone like Bhakti Charu Maharaj, who accepted Prabhupada's instruction never to get married, dedicated his whole life to helping other devotees make spiritual progress. That's the sign of a pure devotee. He stuck his neck out, not only for me, but for many other devotees to help them. He was kind, he was gentle, he was very shastric, very committed to Srila Prabhupada, and had no material motive other than to see the success of Krishna consciousness and the success of every devotee in Krishna consciousness. He gave his personal association to his own detriment to help devotees all over the world. He was a world traveler. He had disciples all over the world. And he was actually, as it says, Vachavegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Uttarapasta Vegam, Etan Vegam, Yo Vishaheta Dirak, Sarvam Apiman Sisyat Sisyat. That is, a person who has controlled the Vegans, controlled the tongue, the stomach, the genital, the mind, and anger, all these pushers to disaster, who can control them. Such a person can travel everywhere in the world and make devotees. And that's a description of Bhakti Charu Maharaj. So we're very glad to speak a few words about him today. The main point here is that he was an exceptional devotee in ISKCON. He was an exceptional servant to Srila Prabhupada. He served him personally. He was there when Prabhupada disappeared. And he never took Prabhupada out of his mind. He was always dedicated to serving the mission of Srila Prabhupada, which is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world and to help everyone who will have some interest in learning why they are suffering in the material world, to answer their questions and give them and deliver to them the easy process that Lord Chaitanya has established in Kali Yuga. Simply chant Hare Krishna, dance, take prasadam to full satisfaction, but above all, one must hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by genuine devotees at least once a day. At least once a day. But Prabhupada wanted 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. He did not just want once a day. But if you can't do it 3 times a day, at least once a day, you should come to class and hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by genuine devotees. Because that is the way you can change your life. That is the way you can maintain your life in Krishna consciousness. If you don't do that, then there's a slippery slope of forgetfulness, and there is what's called negligence of strict following of Krishna consciousness, and eventually Maya will win and you will lose. So this regular hearing is most important thing. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. So everything begins with Shravanam, this hearing from bona fide devotees. Not devotees that say, well, you can take a little vacation every once in a while, and you don't have to do everything Harivilas says, because, it's better just to study rather than to run around all these festivals that he's doing. And that's nonsense. That's not Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means one should be so engaged that there's not 1 second that Maya can enter into your life. And to do that, you have to be engaged, not in being a bookworm, but in listening carefully to classes given by genuine devotees, and engaged in preaching, sankirtan, book distribution, prasadam distribution, and festivals. Every day should be a festival on Krishna consciousness. And eventually, you should give up working in these nonsense companies and dedicate the rest of your life to Krishna consciousness. Of course, if you're married and you have children, I can understand that. I do too. But at a certain point, the children are not going to be there. You must dedicate husband and wife completely to preaching Krishna consciousness and not wasting your time buying bigger houses, buying more cars, spending your money collecting gadgets and complicating your life by maintaining all those nonsense gadgets. You don't need any gadgets. You don't need big houses. You don't need big cars. You don't need big expenditures. What you need is Krishna consciousness and spreading this movement. That's what Bhakti Charu Maharaj did. That's what you should do. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Bhakti Charu Swami, Jaya Bhakti Charu Swami, Bhakti Charu Swami, Jaya Bhakti Charu Swami. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Shadma. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Shadma. Bandamoi Shabadana Mate. Bandamoi Shabadana Mate. Jahar prasade bai e bhavato riyaja. Jahar prasade bai e bhavato riyaja. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. Guru Mukha Padma Vaika Chitte ko riyaika. Guru Mukha
পদ্মাবৈক চিত্তেতে করিয়াৈক আর না করিয় মনে আশা আর না করিয় মনে আশা শ্রী গুরু চরণে রতি এই সেও তমাগতি শ্রী গুরু চরণে রতি এই সেও তমাগতি যে প্রসাদে পুরে সর্ব আশা যে প্রসাদে পুরে সর্ব আশা चक्षुदान दिल जय जन्म जन्म प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिल जय जन्म जन्म प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान दे प्रकाशित दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जाइते अविद्या विनाश जाइते प्रेम भक्ति जाइते अविद्या विनाश जाइते वेदे गाय जहर चरित्र वेदे गाय जहर चरित्र श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अदम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अदम जनार बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवन ओ लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवन प्रभु करो दया देख मरे पद छाया प्रभु करो दया देख मरे पद छाया आहा प्रभु करो दया देव हमारे पद छाया आहा प्रभु करो दया देव हमारे पद छाया हे बेजस गुच्छति भुवन ओए बेजस गुषा त्रिभुवन प्रभुपद लैलु शरण जय प्रभुपद 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 जय प्रभुपद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी प्रशांत देश तारिणे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति चारु स्वामी इति नामिने